I caught my wife sleeping in bed with a tour guide in Costa Rica. My wife said, "You were never enough for me." She laughed. I smiled, canceled her flight home, and left her stranded. 6 months later, she saw me with her hot friend and went crazy. So, I, 34, had spent 7 years married to Sarah, 33, thinking we had a solid relationship. Met in college, did the whole dating dance, got hitched right after graduation. Classic story, right? We were that couple everyone pretended to be happy for but secretly wanted to punch in the face. Nice house, decent jobs, matching coffee mugs, the whole shebang. For the first few years, life was actually pretty decent. We did all the married couple crap, Netflix marathons, weekend trips to IKEA, arguing about whose turn it was to take out the trash. Normal stuff. Looking back now, I can see we were not exactly setting the world on fire with passion. But hey, I thought that is what normal marriages look like after a while. About 3 years ago, we decided to jump on the baby train. Everyone was doing it, so why not us? We had the spare room all picked out for a nursery, had those annoying conversations about baby names, even downloaded one of those ovulation tracker apps. Real romantic stuff, let me tell you. But month after month, nothing. Sarah's period would show up right on schedule like clockwork. After a year of trying, we went to some fancy fertility clinic where they poked and prodded both of us. Their expert medical conclusion, unexplained infertility, which is doctor for we have no clue what is wrong, but thanks for the $5,000. That is when things started changing. Sarah took the baby stuff hard. She would get this dead-eyed look whenever someone announced a pregnancy on social media. Started making up excuses to bail on baby showers. I would come home and catch her stalking mommy influencers on Instagram with this pathetic look on her face. Tried talking about adoption once and she shut that down so fast it gave me whiplash. But the real fun started about a year and a half ago. Sarah basically transformed into my roommate who occasionally acknowledged my existence. Emotionally, she was about as present as my dead grandpa. At first, I thought it was just depression from the baby stuff, but nah, this was different. All our couple routines, dead movie nights, not in the mood, weekend hikes, too tired. I was basically living with a stranger who happened to share my Amazon Prime account. The conversations went something like this. Me. Hey. Wanna watch that new show everyone's talking about? She barely looks up from phone. Nah. I am good. And sometimes I say, thought we could try that new restaurant downtown tonight. I already ate a yogurt. Maybe next time, as she disappears into bedroom. But here is the thing. While she was checking out of our marriage, she was checking into something else. New clothes started appearing in her closet. Suddenly, the gym was her second home. New hairstyle, fancy perfume, underwear that definitely was not the practical cotton stuff she had worn for years. Classic signs of someone auditioning for a role that was not your wife. Being the absolute genius that I am, I went into full save the marriage mode. I tried surprise dates, random flowers, cooking her favorite meals. I even read one of those garbage relationship books with a title like How Not to Die Alone with Cats. Nothing worked. She would just give me this empty smile and a thanks with all the enthusiasm of someone getting a colonoscopy. One night after she went to bed at 8:30 again, I'm sitting alone on the couch thinking, what the actual heck am I going to do? That is when my brain produced what I thought was a stroke of brilliance. A vacation, not just any vacation. 2 weeks in Costa Rica. Beaches, jungle, luxury resort. The works. The kind of trip Instagram was invented for. When I told Sarah about it, I finally got an actual human reaction. Costa Rica? Really? She asked, looking up from her phone for what felt like the first time in months. Yeah, I said, feeling like I just discovered the cure for cancer. 2 weeks at that fancy resort from the travel show. Already booked it. She nodded, actually looking interested. That sounds really good, actually. For the next few weeks, Sarah almost seemed like a person again. She was looking up Costa Rica stuff, making packing lists, even talking to me about excursions we could do. I was mentally high-fiving myself. Problem solved. Marriage saved by beaches and overpriced cocktails. The trip started okay. Business class flights because I was still trying way too hard. Fancy resort with our own private villa, king-sized bed, private pool, all that bougie stuff. First couple days, Sarah seemed almost normal. Still not super affectionate, but at least acknowledging my existence with more than grunts. We did some beach time, had a few decent meals. I kept thinking, this is it. We are turning a corner. On day 3 of our Costa Rica Save the Marriage vacation, I had scheduled this private tour through some famous national park with all these waterfalls and wildlife. Figured we would do the whole reconnecting with nature and each other thing. What could go wrong? That is when the tour guide shows up at our hotel. And I swear the dude looked like he walked straight off a cologne ad. Tall, tanned, perfect smile, the whole package. Name was Miguel. Whatever. I am secure enough not to care. If anything, I felt bad for the guy having to deal with cranky tourists all day. Welcome, he says with this smooth accent. I will be your guide for the next week. We have many adventures planned. I am like, cool, man. But then I notice Sarah. She is beaming at this dude. Not just being polite, but full on eye raping him. It is the most animated I have seen her in years. Suddenly, I am invisible. During the tour, Sarah transforms into this chatty, flirty person I barely recognize. She is asking Miguel a million questions, laughing at everything he says, constantly needing his help to balance on rocks or whatever. So, how long have you been a tour guide? Sarah asks, doing that thing where she plays with her hair. 5 years. I studied biology at university, but I love showing people my country more, he answers, flashing those perfect teeth. That is so fascinating, Sarah replies, leaning in closer than necessary. I have always been interested in biology, too, which was news to me. In 7 years of marriage, I had never once heard her express any interest in biology, but whatever. Meanwhile, I am just hiking along behind them like I am not even there. Could have been replaced with a cardboard cutout, and nobody would have noticed. I tried to jump in a few times, but they were too busy having their own private conversation. Later that night at dinner, I tried to talk to Sarah about the tour. That was pretty cool today, right? Saw some crazy birds. She barely looked up from her phone. Yeah, Miguel is great. He really knows the area. I just nodded and ate my food. I could sense something was up, but honestly, part of me did not even care anymore. I was tired of being the only one trying in this relationship. Over the next few days, the pattern continued. Sarah would be distant and bored with me, then transform into this giggly, touchy-feely person around Miguel. I started noticing she was freshening up before our tours. New makeup, different outfits, extra perfume. Classic. Beautiful view today, I would say at breakfast. Mumble, checking her phone. Want to try that couples massage the resort offers? I am actually pretty tired. Maybe just go to the beach instead. Then with Miguel. Oh, wow. What kind of bird is that? Can we go see those waterfalls you mentioned? Is that coffee plantation tour available tomorrow? By day 5, I literally stopped trying. Started doing my own thing. Went fishing, did some solo hikes, spent time at the resort bar talking to random tourists. Sarah did not even notice. She started going missing after our tours ended, claiming she wanted to check out the hotel shops or go for a walk on the beach alone. Sure, one afternoon, I came back early from a fishing trip I had gone on solo since Sarah was not feeling well that morning and found the hotel room empty. Her phone was on the charger, though, and it buzzed with a message. I am not usually the type to snoop, but I looked. A text from Miguel. Meet me at the usual spot. Cannot wait to see you. Well, if it is not the consequences of her own actions. Now, I am not going to lie. I was not entirely shocked because my guts were screaming at me through all this and even before. But seeing the texts, I just lost it. If there was an ounce of hope left in me to save this marriage, it evaporated in that moment. That night at dinner, I gave it one last shot. Everything okay with you? You seem not here. She barely looked up from her mojito. I am fine. Just relaxing. Is not that what vacation is for? I nodded. Yeah. Sure, I decided right then I was done being a chump. Next day, I told Sarah I was going on another fishing trip. Would be gone most of the day. She barely acknowledged me. Too busy texting, 3 guesses who. Instead of fishing, I waited about an hour, then headed back to the hotel. Took the long way around to avoid being spotted. Used my key card to quietly open the door. And guess what soundtrack greeted me? My wife, and she definitely was not alone. For a second, I just stood there, a backpack still on my shoulder. There is my wife of 7 years getting railed by Miguel the tour guide in our $500 a night villa on sheets I was paying for in a country I brought her to. I almost throw up. Neither of them noticed me at first. I was about to walk on them and punch both in the face and get arrested that night, but I just cleared my throat. Not dramatically, just a casual ahem. Sarah finally looked up, and here is the part that really sealed her fate. She did not look embarrassed or ashamed. She looked annoyed, like I was the four interrupting. What are you doing here? She asked, not even trying to cover up. I just raised an eyebrow. It is my room. Miguel at least had the decency to look uncomfortable, reaching for his pants. But Sarah, she just sat up, gave me this ice-cold look and said, "You were never enough for me, Jake. Not in bed, not as a husband, and definitely not as a potential father." My mind was nagging me to lose my temper. Yell, throw things, maybe get physical. But I swallowed these thoughts. Something inside me snapped into focus. Maybe it was the years of being ignored, the countless nights spent trying to fix something she had already given up on. Maybe it was just pure survival instinct. Either way, I was not going to fall apart in front of her. Not now. Instead, I just pulled out my phone and started recording. "What are you doing?" she demanded. I shrugged, making sure to get both their faces clearly on video. "Just documenting this epic vacation moment. Do not mind me. Keep going." Now she is scrambling for the sheets and Miguel is grabbing his clothes like the room is on fire. Turn that off, she yelled. Nah, I said, still filming calmly. This is going to be important later. Hey, Miguel, quick question. Do you do this with all your clients or just the desperate married ones? Miguel muttered something in Spanish and bolted for the door, still putting his shirt on. Once he was gone, Sarah switched tactics. The attitude disappeared, replaced with tears. Classic Jake, it is not what you think? I actually laughed. Really? You are going to go with it is not what you think? When I literally just caught you our tour guide after telling me I was not enough? That is the best you can come up with? It was just a mistake. I have been so unhappy. And save it. I cut her off, still recording everything. So unhappy you could not talk to me about it. So unhappy you had to sleep with the first exotic dude who gave you attention. She is crying now. Big dramatic sobs. Please. Jake. We can work through this. That is when I did something that probably surprised her. I put my phone away and started packing my stuff, just mine. What are you doing? She asked between fake sobs. Leaving? I said simply. You are leaving me here in Costa Rica? I zipped up my suitcase. Yep, but how am I supposed to get home? Not my problem. I shrugged. Oh, and just so we are clear, your flight home is cancelled. So is your credit card. You know the one where you are just an authorized user on my account and your cell service. Her face went from sad to shocked to furious in about 3 seconds flat. You cannot do that. Already did it this morning. Had a hunch I might need to make some I slung my backpack over my shoulder. Maybe Miguel can help you out. He seems really supportive. I do not have enough cash to not my problem. I said again. Should have thought about that before you decided to audition for the Costa Rican version of Cheaters. As I walked to the door, she was screaming at me, calling me every name in the book. I turned around one last time. By the way, I got the whole "you were never enough" speech on video. Cannot wait to show it to the divorce lawyer and your parents and our friends. Peace out. I closed the door on her mid-scream, and walked straight to the front desk where I booked a different room at the opposite end of the resort. The manager asked if everything was okay and I just said marital disagreement, nothing major. That night, chilling on my new private balcony, I sent an email to her parents with the video attached explaining why their daughter was stranded in Costa Rica. CC'd her sister, too. I ordered room service, watched the sunset, and slept better than I had in years. Funny how losing 150 pounds of dead weight can do that for a guy. I got a single response from her parents a day later. Just 2 words. We are sorry. After that, radio silence, no follow-ups, no requests for explanations, nothing. I figured they either believed Sarah's twisted version of events or just did not want to get involved. I flew home the next morning, upgraded myself to first class with the miles I had been saving for our second honeymoon. Left Sarah to figure out her own way back. Honestly, did not know or care how she would manage it. Maybe Miguel had airline miles or something. Not my circus, not my monkeys anymore. The flight home gave me plenty of time to think about my next moves. By the time we landed, I had a game plan that would make a chess grandmaster proud. First thing I did when I got home was call the best divorce lawyer in town. Not the cheapest, not the nicest, the most savage, cutthroat bastard I could find. Guy had a reputation for leaving spouses of cheaters completely destroyed. So, let me get this straight. The lawyer, I will call him Dan, says after I show him the video. You have clear video evidence of your wife cheating, admitting she is unhappy and insulting you, and you left her in another country. Yep, I said, wondering if he was going to judge me. Instead, he laughed. That is cold, man, I like it. She will probably try to use that against you, though. I shrugged. I did not force her to stay there. I just removed my financial support. She is an adult. Fair enough. And you said the house is in your name only. Yeah. I bought it right before the wedding. She did not have good credit at the time, so it is just in my name. Same with the cars. Dan grinned like a shark that just smelled blood. And you have been the primary breadwinner throughout the marriage. I make about triple what she does, I confirm. Then he told me what we were going to do. The next week was a blur of financial lockdowns. Removed Sarah from every account. Cancelled joint credit cards. Changed all passwords. Moved my direct deposit to a new bank account she did not know existed. Documented everything in the house that was mine pre-marriage or purchased with my separate funds. I moved the important stuff to a storage unit. Family heirlooms, expensive electronics, irreplaceable photos, that kind of thing. Not because I am petty, but because I did not trust her not to destroy. I also had the locks changed and the security code updated. She would get her clothes and personal items, but only with a police escort present. Dan assured me this was all legal since the house was solely in my name. Technically, I could have kicked her out entirely, but I am not completely heartless. She could stay until the divorce was final, as long as I was not there. Sarah finally made it back to the States about a week after I did. No idea how she managed it. Did not care. I was already staying at my buddy's place when she got home, So she came back to a half-empty house with new locks and a note from my lawyer explaining how to contact him for access to her personal belongings. She immediately blew up my phone with calls and texts. "You cannot just lock me out of my house. Where is all your stuff? My credit cards are not working. Answer me. You coward." I forwarded everything to Dan without responding. He advised total silence. No contact whatsoever. Let her dig herself deeper. The few times she showed up at my buddy's place, I simply did not answer the door. After the third attempt, my buddy installed a doorbell camera so we could see who was there before bothering to get up. 2 days after she got back, Sarah was served divorce papers at work. Maximum public humiliation. The grounds adultery with video evidence attached. The terms state that she gets nothing. No alimony, no property, no car, just her clothes and personal items. Oh, and all communication goes through lawyers only. "You are really going scorched earth on this one," Dan commented when I approved the filing. "She nuked our marriage with her legs spread," I replied flatly. "I am just making sure she does not walk away with a prize for it." Sarah tried all the usual routes, crying to mutual friends, calling my parents, even showing up at my work once. I remained completely silent. The only people who heard my side were my closest buddies, my parents, who never liked her anyway, and of course, my lawyer. Our friends were split. Some took her side based on whatever story she fed them. Others heard her out, then reached out to me privately to get my version. When I showed them the video, they usually changed their tune real quick. I did not even have to badmouth her. She did all the work herself with that "you were never enough" line. Golden. About 3 weeks after she got served, Sarah's lawyer reached out with a counter-proposal. She wanted half the house value, one of the cars, and a year of alimony to get back on her feet. Dan actually laughed out loud when he called to tell me. His response was to send them the complete video of her cheating, plus screenshots of all her texts, begging me to take her back, along with a detailed accounting of our finances, showing I paid for everything throughout the marriage. "Just reminding your client what a jury would see," his email said. They came back with a much lower request. We refused that, too. Dan's strategy was simple. Give her absolutely nothing except what she came into the marriage with. In Sarah's case, that was not much. "She is getting desperate," Dan told me during our weekly update. "Her lawyer knows they have no case with that video evidence. Just hold tight." Sure enough, about a month later, Sarah agreed to my terms. She walked away with her personal belongings, her own separate retirement account, which was tiny, and the debt from her personal credit cards. That is it. No house, no car, no support, nothing. The day the divorce was finalized, I sent her a single text. "Were Miguel's magic dick tricks worth it?" She responded with paragraphs of abuse. I did not even read them, just screenshotted for potential future restraining order needs and blocked her number. That night, my buddies took me out to celebrate my freedom. We hit up this new bar downtown, and for the first time in years, I actually felt lighter, like I could breathe again. It is weird how you do not notice the weight of a toxic relationship until it is gone. One of my friends asked if I was sad about wasting 7 years with Sarah. I thought about it for a minute. "Nah," I finally said, "not wasted. Educational. Now I know exactly what I do not want." The next few weeks were all about reclaiming my life. Got a new phone number, repainted the house in colors Sarah always hated. Bought a new, bigger TV, started working out again, reconnected with friends I had not seen much during my marriage. It felt like being let out of prison. By month 3, post-divorce, I was in the best shape of my life, and had started casually dating again. Nothing serious, just enjoying meeting new people without the pressure. That is when the real karma started for Sarah. Turns out her work had caught wind of the cheating scandal. Small company, big gossip. They had already been planning layoffs. And guess who was first on the chopping block? With no job, no husband, and no support system left, Sarah had to move back in with her parents at 33. According to mutual friends, she was telling anyone who would listen that I had ruined her life. While there I was, freshly divorced at 34, living in my house that was now half empty, but 100% mine. For the first couple weeks after everything was finalized, I mostly just existed. Went to work, came home, ate whatever, slept, repeat. My buddies tried to get me to go out, but I was not feeling it, not because I was sad. Honestly, I felt great about ditching Sarah, but I just needed some time to decompress after all the legal drama. Then one day, Jade called me out of the blue. Jade was Sarah's friend from college, easily the hottest of her friend group. They had had some falling out a year or so ago that Sarah never really explained. I almost did not answer when I saw her name pop up, figuring she was calling to give me on Sarah's behalf. Turned out to be the exact opposite. Jade started the call by telling me she had heard what happened, then dropped a bomb on me. Apparently, she and Sarah had stopped being friends because Sarah had been talking about cheating on me way back then, over a year before the Costa Rica incident. Jade had told her it was wrong and Sarah had cut her off. According to Jade, Sarah had been checking out of our marriage for way longer than I realized. She just wanted me to know I did not do anything wrong. I sat there stunned for a minute. "So, The problems in our marriage were not about the fertility issues or me not trying hard enough or whatever other Sarah had been feeding me. She had just been looking for an exit ramp for years. Somehow, knowing that made me feel even better about how I had handled everything. She suggested we meet for coffee, which turned into dinner, which turned into drinks. I knew what she was trying to do and I went with it. Honestly, at that point, I lost faith in the whole marriage idea, so I let myself have fun and give that model a shot. Turned out Jade was not just hot, she was actually cool as hell, smart, funny, had her own successful business. We ended up talking for hours about everything except Sarah. When she laughed, it was genuine. When she asked questions, she actually listened to my answers. Basic that should not be impressive, but was a stark contrast to what I had been dealing with for years. Fast forward a couple weeks, and Jade and I were hanging out regularly. Nothing physical yet, just enjoying each other's company. But there was definitely some chemistry brewing. We kept it casual. Dinner, movies, hiking, or normal human activities, the kind of stuff Sarah had stopped doing with me years ago. At that time, I decided to treat myself to a new car. The old one had too many memories of Sarah in it. Too many road trips with her criticizing my driving or complaining about my music. I went with a black BMW M4. Totally cliché divorce guy purchase, I know. But I earned it. Paid cash, too, thanks to all the money I had saved not funding Sarah's shopping habits for 6 months. The day after I got the car, I invited Jade to go for a drive up the coast, maybe grab lunch somewhere nice. She was all for it. I picked her up wearing my best jeans and a new shirt, feeling better than I had in years. When she climbed into the passenger seat, she let out a low whistle and ran her hand over the leather interior. The appreciation in her eyes made me feel like royalty. We had an amazing day. Drove with the windows down, music up. Found this little oceanfront seafood place neither of us had been to before. Walked on the beach afterward. Simple stuff. But it felt good. Real. At one point, she grabbed my hand and it just felt natural. When I took her home that evening, she invited me in for a drink. One thing led to another, and let us just say we did not get much sleep that night. The next morning, we went for breakfast at this little cafe near her place. That is when I saw her. Sarah, standing frozen in the doorway of the cafe, staring at us like she had seen a ghost. For a second, nobody moved. Then Sarah's face transformed into this mask of pure rage. She stormed over to our table. I tensed up, ready for her to make a scene, but instead she just stood there glaring at Jade. The audacity, right? Like I was still her property or something. I did not stand up, did not raise my voice, just looked at her with what I hoped was the most bored expression possible and said, "Can we help you?" Sarah ignored me completely, focusing all her venom on Jade. Called her a backstabbing. Said she had always known Jade wanted to steal me. Jade, cool as ice. She is honestly a bad just sipped her coffee and replied that Sarah had already thrown me away, so she had not stolen anything. That is when Sarah turned to me, tears suddenly streaming down her face. The emotional whiplash was something to behold. She started saying how much she missed me, how she had made a terrible mistake, how Miguel had manipulated her. Classic rewriting history. Said she had been calling me for weeks. I just blocked her and wanted to talk about reconciliation. I just stared at her for a second, then looked at my watch, said something like, "Wow, it has taken you 4 whole months to decide you messed up. That is actually faster than I expected." Sarah's face crumpled. She started sobbing about how hard things had been for her. Lost her job, had to move in with her parents. None of her friends wanted to hang out anymore. Basically, her life was in shambles, and somehow that was supposed to be my problem. I shrugged and said, "Sounds rough, not sure what that has to do with us, though." Then she noticed my car keys on the table, asked if that was my new BMW outside. When I nodded, she lost it completely, started screaming about how I was spending our money on luxury cars and new girlfriends while she could barely afford groceries. That is when I corrected her. Not our money, my money. The same money that paid for your fancy organic groceries and yoga classes and girls' trips for years. The difference is now I am spending it on people who actually appreciate it. The cafe had gone completely silent. Everyone watching our little drama unfold. The manager was starting to head our way, probably ready to kick us all out. I decided to end things before it escalated further. Dropped cash on the table for our bill, took Jade's hand, and stood up, looking Sarah dead in the eyes. I delivered the final blow. You made your choice in Costa Rica. You do not get to change your mind just because your backup plan did not work out. Best of luck with your life, but it is not my problem anymore. Then Jade and I walked out, leaving Sarah standing there as the entire cafe stared at her. As we drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Sarah watching my new car disappear, looking like her whole world had collapsed again. Jade squeezed my hand and said she was sorry I had to deal with that. I just shrugged and told her the truth. Seeing Sarah that day and feeling absolutely nothing was the final confirmation that I had made the right choice. The woman I thought I loved for 7 years had become a complete stranger to me. And I was totally fine with that. That night, Sarah blew up my phone with texts from new numbers since I had blocked her main one, telling me I was cruel, heartless, that I had never given her a chance to explain, that the real me would forgive her. I just kept blocking each new number without responding. Jade stayed over that night. As we were lying in bed, she asked if any part of me missed Sarah or our marriage. I thought about it for a minute, trying to be honest with myself. I miss who I thought she was, I finally said, but that person never actually existed. So, no, I do not miss the real her at all. Jade nodded, understanding in a way Sarah never had. At that time, I figured Sarah would finally get the message and would leave me the hell alone. But that lasted about a week before the next level of crazy kicked in. Apparently, when your own pathetic attempts at reconciliation fail, the next logical step is to send in the parents. I was just getting home from work one evening when I spotted an unfamiliar car in my driveway. At first, I thought maybe it was one of my neighbors having guests over and they parked in the wrong spot. But as I pulled up closer, I recognized Sarah's dad sitting behind the wheel with her mom in the passenger seat. For context, I had always gotten along pretty well with her parents during our marriage. Her dad, Bob, was a chill guy, and we would always had decent conversations. Her mom, Karen, was more high-strung, but generally nice enough. They lived about 3 hours away, so we did not see them super often, but holidays and occasional visits had always been fine. Mind you, when I emailed them that video from Costa Rica explaining why their daughter was stranded in another country, I never got any response. I thought maybe they were in shock, maybe they did not believe it, or maybe they were just processing. Either way, I had not heard a peep from them throughout the entire divorce process, which made their sudden appearance on my doorstep pretty surprising. I briefly considered just driving past my own house and coming back later, but honestly, I was too tired for that. So, I parked, grabbed my gym bag from the trunk, and walked toward my front door like I did not see them. Obviously, they spotted me and got out of their car. Here we go. Bob approached first, looking uncomfortable as hell. Karen was right behind him. Bob started with some awkward small talk about the weather and my new car, clearly stalling. I just stood there, keys in hand, waiting for them to get to the point. Finally, Karen could not take it anymore and jumped in. She started by saying they were worried about Sarah, that she was not doing well, that she had made a terrible mistake and regretted it deeply. I just nodded, face completely neutral. Then came the real purpose of their visit. They wanted me to consider giving Sarah another chance. Karen went on about forgiveness and how everyone deserves a second chance, and how marriage is about working through hard times. I let her finish her whole speech before responding. Then I looked Karen straight in the eyes and asked, "Did you watch the video I sent you months ago?" Karen glanced at Bob, then looked at the ground. "We could not bring ourselves to open it. Sarah told us you were just trying to hurt her. That whatever was in that video was taken out of context." I actually laughed at that. Out of context? Your daughter our tour guide in our vacation bed and telling me to my face that I was never enough for her. What context would make that okay? Bob winced at my bluntness. Karen's face went pale. I continued, still completely calm, explaining that this was not just a one-time mistake. Told them about Jade's revelation that Sarah had been planning to cheat for over a year. Told them about finding the texts, about how Sarah had emotionally checked out of our marriage long before Costa Rica. That brought back memories I tried to erase. By the time I finished, both of them were just standing there silently. Bob finally spoke up, saying he had no idea that Sarah had told them I abandoned her during vacation after a small fight, then refused to let her come home. Completely rewrote the story to make herself the victim. Classic Sarah move. I was not surprised. Told them I did not blame them for believing their daughter, but the truth was much uglier. Karen asked if they could see the video now, just to confirm what I was saying. I hesitated, then decided. Sarah had tried to destroy my reputation with her lies, so I pulled out my phone and played it for them. Watching your ex-in-laws see video evidence of their daughter cheating and being cruel is a weird experience. Not going to lie. Bob could not even finish watching it, just turned away and stared at the ground. Karen watched the whole thing, her face getting harder with each second. When it was over, Karen handed back my phone and simply said, "I am so sorry, Jake." No excuses, no defense of Sarah, just a genuine apology. Bob nodded in agreement, looking like he had aged 10 years in 5 minutes. I told them it was not their fault, that Sarah was an adult who made her own choices, that I had moved on and was happier now. They said they understood and would not bother me again. As they were leaving, Karen turned back and asked one last question. Was I happy with Jade? I said, yes, happier than I had been in years. She nodded, gave a sad smile, and said she was glad at least something good came from all this. I thought that would be the end of it. But 2 days later, I got a text from Sarah's sister, Amy. She had watched the video I sent months ago, but been quiet supporting me from a distance, according to what she said, not wanting to get caught in the middle. She told me her parents had finally confronted Sarah with what they had learned from seeing the video at my house. Sarah tried to lie her way out of it at first, then broke down and admitted everything when they would not budge. Amy said her parents had told Sarah she needed professional help and that they would not support her financially anymore unless she started therapy. A weird sense of closure washed over me reading that text. It was not about revenge anymore. Sarah was just a sad, broken person who had ruined her own life. That was a couple of months ago. Since then, life has been pretty damn good. If there is any lesson here, it is this: never be afraid to walk away from someone who does not value you. There is no prize for suffering through a shitty relationship. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Edit. Thanks for all the support, y'all. For those asking, yes, Jade and I are talking about starting a family in a year or two. And no, I have not heard directly from Sarah since the cafe incident. Some chapters of your life are just better left closed.